So here we are at the unit 5 of the subject probability and statistics. The unit 5 is all about the hypothesis testing and decision theory. The topics which are covered already or we will be covering in the unit 5 is the hypothesis formulation, critical regions, type 1, type 2 error, Neyman-Pearson lemma, Z, T, chi-square test, F test, goodness of fit, test for proportion and variance, and applications in engineering and sciences. These are all the topics which we will be covering in the unit 5. So moving back to the next slide. So here, here as we like what is hypothesis? First we'll come down to. So hypothesis, as we have seen in the class also, hypothesis is a fundamental concept where we assume something. We assume that something is possible through the research, through the experimentation, and we will be getting the result as per the our expectation. That's what my hypothesis test statement. And this hypothesis is the testable statement. It explains about what is happening and what has been observed. The hypothesis suggests the idea or the educated guess or the proposed explanation for the given experimentation. Correct. So what is my expectation? What can be my outcome is stated in the hypothesis. As we have seen all these parts, and then we will go to the types of hypothesis part. So what are the types of hypothesis? There are two types of hypothesis. The first hypothesis type is null hypothesis, and the second hypothesis type is alternative hypothesis. Now, null hypothesis is shown as H0, and alternate hypothesis is shown as H1 or HA. What is null hypothesis? The null hypothesis is a hypothesis which the researcher tries to disprove or nullify. Basically, the null hypothesis says that no difference exists, no impact because of any experimentation, so no change is expected. This is what is my null hypothesis. And what does the researchers generally tries to do? They generally try to disapprove or nullify the null hypothesis. Now, there is another concept which is my alternate hypothesis. This alternate hypothesis is exactly opposite to the null hypothesis. The alternate hypothesis is a hypothesis which the researcher tries to prove. Now, looking at the screen, you all can see in very well manner. Please look at the screen. Over here, we can see that my null hypothesis, which I stated over here, is H0. The application of biofertilizer X does not increase the plant growth. This is what is my null hypothesis. What does it mean? I am performing some experimentation and there is no change because of my experimentation. So nothing gets changed because of experimentation, because of proposed model, or because of some act. That is what my null hypothesis is. And what is alternate hypothesis? The alternate hypothesis says that there is an effect because of the experimentation. So here, the statement you can see here, the application of a biofertilizer X increases the plant growth. That's what my alternate hypothesis is. So I hope this null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis concepts are clear with all of you. Moving ahead, we'll see the difference between null and alternate hypothesis. Now, the null hypothesis states that no relationship exists between the variable. Alternate hypothesis states that a relationship exists between the variables. The first difference. Then, null hypothesis assumes no effect or no change. The alternate hypothesis assumes that there is a change or there is an effect because of an experimentation. It considers the default assumptions, and the alternate hypothesis represents the research claim. It is denoted as H0. Please remember this in very well manner. The null hypothesis is denoted as H0. The alternate hypothesis is denoted as H1 or HA. Right? Null hypothesis, if accepted, researchers may need to consider their assumption. The alternate hypothesis is accepted, the researcher supports their original claim. It means that there is a change because of an experimentation. What does a null hypothesis say? No observable impact on the output. You can see here, there is no observable impact on the output. What does the alternate hypothesis says? There is an observable impact on the output. That's what my alternate hypothesis statement is. null hypothesis accepted when the p-value is greater than a significance level. When my test statistics value is greater than the significance level, I accept the null hypothesis. Alternate hypothesis accepted when my p-value is less than the significance level. So these are the two different parts of the null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. So the last important difference is it maintained when there is a insufficient evidences. Null hypothesis is maintained. And alternate hypothesis is accepted when there is a strong evidence of an experimentation and the expected results through the long chain of experimentation. And that's where I accept the alternate hypothesis. So these are the major differences between the null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. And then we have the hypothesis formulation. Now, what do you mean by the hypothesis formulation? Formulating a hypothesis involves creating a testable, specific, and a clear prediction about the relationship between two or more variables. These two or more variables. We have the independent variable, which is called as the cause, right? And there is a dependent variable, which is called as an effect, right? So what is this cause and effect? The cause and effect, we can say that as we cut more trees, there is a temperature increase in the climate, or there will be a less rainfall. So what is the cause? The cause is the cutting of trees. That's my independent variable. And what is an effect? Effect is reduce in the rainfall or increase in the temperature. That's my dependent variable. I hope you understood. See, these are the types of variables which we have. So the basic general categorization of the variables is dependent variables and independent variable. The independent variable is the one which is the cause, and the dependent variable is the one which is the effect of that cause. So my simple example is the cutting of trees as the independent variable, and the dependent variable is increase in the temperature or reduction in the rainfall. So how do I formulate the hypothesis? The hypothesis formulation is the scientific process. It is a process in which we create a testable, which can, the test statement which can be tested, specific, and the clear prediction. Prediction is what is statement of proposal about the relationship between the two independent and dependent variables, and how it is who does supports all this. So it is on the basis of the existing theories, observations, and the literature reviews. So this is all about the hypothesis, the type of hypothesis, and the hypothesis formulation. I hope this is clear. Is there any question till now? What happened? The screen is not shared now.